Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back if you are first joining us, if you haven't been here before. But if you have been here before, hey, welcome. My name is Kyla. A little bit about me. I work for Disney. I don't speak for the company, but I work in entertainment there. I live in Anaheim, California, and I have a little bit of background in choir and theater and a little bit of guitar and violin under me as well. And today, joining me, I have Sam Zeller. He is a television and screen actor as well as stage, and he has been acting since he was 5 years old. He's originally from Anaheim, California. He was in many different productions such as Peter Pan, Beauty and the Beast, Les Miserables. He was also in Gotham and many, many more. Welcome, Sam. Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
here today.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here. Now, how wonderful to talk to somebody who lives in Anaheim.
I know I'm so excited to rack your brain about things about Anaheim today.
Thank
I'm
you.
so delighted to have you here with us. Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Oh my gosh. I am the third son of Walter and Marie Zeller, and we lived in Anaheim. My parents bought their house for $14,000 back in the early 50s before Disney was even, it was a thought, but it hadn't been created yet. And it was probably one of the most wonderful places to grow up. And I don't know. My mom said I was running around the house doing impersonations of John Wayne and things like that and saying I want an agent as if I knew what an agent was.
Right.
So she took me to an audition, and the audition was for a Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz. And all I needed to do was a cartwheel. And I did cartwheels all the way across the stage. And I was the youngest kid, I was 5. And I became the leader of the Lollipop Guild. And then it became my outlet of doing stuff after school, because when I grew up, we didn't have art programs in school. So they would have different things all over the city, but concentrated. There was a group called the Anima Jessica Players, and we were a group of kids, and our parents would make dinner like a big salad, and every time you took a scoop, that was 10 cents. So you'd have a plate of like 10 scoops of things on your plate, and it was a buck. And then we would perform for them. We
Oh,
would do little musical review type stuff. And,
well,
and I'm 9 years old at this time, that kind of thing. But then as I got older, we didn't have, again, I was going to be a journalist. And I got a scholarship to USC, and they needed us to concentrate in another field. So I thought, oh, I'll try political science or something. They needed an actor to play a 92-year-old man in a Kaufman and Ferber play called Merton of the Movies. And I thought that would be kind of cool. Let me audition. I auditioned, I got in, and then I thought, oh, entertainment reporting, that'll be fun.
mhm.
And that's kind of how it evolved. And then eventually I ended up doing the work myself instead of writing about it. And then I just kept working, thankfully.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
So,
totally. I did see that you did get your degree in journalism, but I
yes.
didn't know that that was like the original plan was just journalism. That's so cool.
I mean, I went into the Anaheim Bulletin newspaper to ask for a job, and the lady said, "Well, circulation's in the back." She thought I wanted a paper route. I was 15 years old, and I said, "No, I want to write for the paper." And she's like, "Oh, you want to write for the paper, huh?" So I like filed photographs and cleaned out waste baskets and things, and then before I knew it, within like 8 months or so, she gave me an article to write about buying a pet for the holidays as a gift. And then little by little, I started doing stuff. And one of the things was, is they said, who wants to go to the theater and see theater, write a review on it? And I was like, oh, I'll do it. I met Kenneth Branagh before he was famous. And he said, your questions, are you an actor? And I said, no. He said, your questions are very instinctual, as if you were an actor. And I thought, okay, I didn't really understand. And here I am talking to him,
Yeah.
and I had no idea who I was dealing with at the time. But I wanted something. I played minor league baseball with the Minnesota Twins organization, and my parents said you need an education. Every young boy wants to be a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go into acting. That's not necessarily what you would think is the
Yeah.
solid, secure job, but it evolved into acting after thinking that it was going to be journalism.
That's so cool, especially to
Yeah.
get both perspectives of it, both the
Yeah.
people who are reviewing the theater and also being in the theater.
Oh yeah.
That
Yeah.
is so cool. How do you feel that that degree of yours kind of prepared you for the career that you had ahead of you?
Oh wow. Well, something about school.
Mhm.
I loved school. I don't know what it was. In summertime, we had the option of going to summer school if we wanted to. We didn't have to go to summer school. I
Mhm.
wanted to go to summer school. I was all into education. I was into learning. I didn't realize that I would probably fare better in a conservatory setting where it's more concentrated on the material that you want, to work on. But I went to UC Irvine.
Mhm.
I got my degree from UC Irvine after I'd gone to Cal State Northridge, after I'd gone to USC.
Mhm.
I couldn't find my way,
Mhm.
but the education part gave me an all around discipline and focus on how to achieve what it is that I wanted. And then when I did get to go to a conservatory, I I I was I had all the tools of academia with me, but in a art setting.
Right.
So yeah, I loved it. And I to this day people still ask me, when are you going to write that book or whatever? And I know, and I've started a blog and things like that, but it is what it is, and there's so many things to do now, it seems,
Right.
that podcasting and all that kind of stuff too. So there's a lot of available work out there if you look for it.
Right. Speaking of which, you've actually played quite a plethora of different roles. How do you
Mhm.
feel playing all those different roles really shaped you as an actor?
Oh, when I always say, if you took the actor that originated that role and
Hmm.
you put all of them together, they would not be a normal. It would not be a set group of people. They'd be
Hmm.
totally different. I'm glad that I have that kind of chameleon sort of way about myself. I'm a big man, but at the same time, I don't play anything the same. So
Hmm.
when I look at my Edna compared to my Gaston or
Right.
something like that, it's very different. And I get into it. I played Old Deuteronomy in Cats once, and they had feral cats in this area where I lived, and I bought food. I watched them, play
Yeah.
and how they interacted with each other. I I got so excited about doing that show because I was really studying what they were like. And they said, "You're going to take photographs with the kids at intermission." I said, "Oh, no, I'm not. I'm a cat. I will probably take a nap. I will probably lick myself, or I will, look for something to eat or whatever. But no, I'm not destroying the illusion just yet.
Mhm.
It's
That's,
very important. I love being able to create another character.
mhm.
And if God gave me my life, why wouldn't I give the same importance to it
Mhm.
with my characters? Because it's
Right.
the most important 2.5 hours of a character's life that you get to see. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm going to give you everything that I have.
That's awesome. Um, how do you feel like you personally fine tune your acting skills? I know that you talked about you literally went in an alleyway and like started feeding cats for your cats
Yeah.
position.
Oh, I
What
love I love
like,
that stuff. I
yeah.
don't, there's so many ways, I think, to hone in on your craft. You always will learn no matter what it is you do. I'm taking a philosophy class right now, and
Mhm.
one of our things that we're learning is every person that is in front of you is your teacher, no matter what. They could be older, younger, it doesn't matter. But I will always learn from somebody who's right in front of me. So if it has to do with psychological or things like that in terms of creating the character, I will go to I want to go there and I want to see what it's like. I remember as a kid going, I want to live in prison just to see what it's like, to have that experience. Then I realized, no, I don't. You don't have to be a murderer in order to play one, kind of thing. But it's it's the challenge of being unique and creative without, you know, everybody plays this role this way or whatever. I love it when somebody said, I've never seen it played that way before. I'm like, okay. So it means that thankfully, I have wonderful directors that I've always worked with, and they trust me and they let me pursue.
You kind of bring your own uniqueness to that role.
I try to, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you.
What has actually been your most challenging role, do you think, to perform?
Oh, gosh. Um, the most challenging, it would have to be one of two. It would be
Okay.
either Valjean from Les Miserables
Uh-huh.
or it would be Tevye from Fiddler on the Roof.
Okay.
They're both. They don't shut up, for one thing. They're constantly engaged.
Mhm.
What's beautiful about Les Mis, it's I was reading the novel while I was in rehearsal.
Mhm.
There's so much more about the story that we don't get
Yeah.
to see in the musical. And we saw a little bit in the movie and that kind of thing, but I mean, the man was buried alive to save another man's life, and then he almost died himself by being buried alive, and just really, uh, uh, what a man, uh, what conviction that he had. And I even thought about trying to do a reality TV show with the gentleman from London.
Mhm.
Um, what's his name? The producer, a famous producer. Um, See, now I can't remember anything when I'm on the spot. But anyway, I was saying we should have a reality show about personifying the literary icon, and we
Mhm.
should go to different cities while we're on tour, and we should highlight a charity,
Mhm.
and have them. I don't know. It's about art is about teaching and inspiring people to do good things.
Mhm.
And I always thought that Valjean, his character, was about doing good things. And why can't we all learn from that?
Mhm.
And of course, the singing is extremely difficult.
Oh, yeah.
I used to smoke cigarettes for a pack a day for many years. And when I got the part, I said, I have to stop. And I literally stopped, and I've never smoked since. So that was a blessing. But at the same time, it was a lot of work. I had humidifiers going all the time in my room. It looked like I was in a fog bank, you know. But I mean, I needed that. And then the thing with Fiddler on the Roof, Tevye, is that he goes through such an emotional arc where he's dealing with his daughters, and it really it's heartbreaking. I mean, to go through all of that, and to imagine in 1920s in Russia, everyone, when I watched the show, I always saw like an old man playing Tevye.
Yeah.
But literally, if they got married, if they had an arranged marriage and they had kids right away, he would probably be in his 40s.
Mhm.
So, and they said, would you be interested? And I said, well, maybe when I'm 70, and they said, no, 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 no. This is how we want to approach it. And they were right. They're very right. And yeah, you grew older quicker back
Mhm.
then because you were working, you would literally working your fingers to the bone.
Right.
But it was great. I mean, they're all challenging.
Mhm.
Every role is challenging, and every role is your favorite. At least it's my favorite while I'm doing it.
Uh-huh. So do you not think that you have just like one like set favorite? Is it just too hard to choose?
If I had to pick a favorite, it would be Valjean, but
Yeah.
it's so close to Tevye and Fiddler. I love
Got it.
them both so much. I love them both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that your favorite was also the most challenging one. I think that
Oh
that's really,
yeah.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, it'd be
Understand.
it'd be too easy. You know what I mean? It wouldn't
Right.
be worth it.
Do you feel like because you worked so hard to really feel a depth in that character is kind of what made it your favorite?
Well, sure. I think so. I mean, my when he has to say goodbye to his youngest daughter, or
Mhm.
one of his younger daughters, because she's marrying out of the family faith,
Mhm.
it's such a struggle because everything that's written for him is like maybe it's this way, maybe it's that way, and he finally has to make that decision. And yeah, I mean, it broke my heart to do that every night. And we were very connected, my daughter and I, and we had to like really make it work. And I don't know. I got to the point in Les Mis where I could sing and bawl my head off without my voice quivering. I just was. It was a technique that I was able to master, and people were this close to me because we were in theater in the round,
Right.
and people were just choked up by it. And I love it when I can make people feel
Yeah.
something.
That is phenomenal. Being able to have that emotion but not be able to clear your voice. It's something that
Oh,
I still struggle with to this day.
oh,
Um,
well, I still do too, but still, it became one of those things where you do it every day and over and over again. It becomes muscle memory, and that's the beauty of what we do too. Is that it's still technique, but it can
mhm.
seem flawless in its presentation.
That's amazing. What was oh man, I had the question. Um how do you overcome roadblocks whenever you're like going through rehearsals and going through auditions? Like what is like some of the roadblocks you've had to go through and how did you overcome those?
That's a really good question. Um, you know, you're only as good as the as many auditions as you do.
Mhm.
And then when you go through a dry spell, I didn't audition for anything for close to 5 years because I was on the road. I was doing Kinky Boots at the time. So
Right.
when I came back into to New York and I had to audition for something,
Mhm.
I don't remember. I mean, I remembered, but at the same time, it was very I was very green because I hadn't gone in the room and this is my music and this is the
Yeah.
tempo and it was very weird. And my my audition, it was for Jerry Springer's opera. It was called Jerry Springer the Opera, and they said prepare the material. So I prepared the material. Well, the guy asks me to sing from my audition book. I hadn't looked at my audition book in I don't know how long, and that's the only reason why I agreed, because I had to prepare the material.
Hmm.
So I did it anyway, not knowing that that is my time in the room. I should be able to pick and choose.
Yeah.
A frog came out of my mouth, and because I hadn't sung it in 5 years, and
Hmm.
then he said, "Do another one again, frog." And the casting director says, "Would you like to have him do the material prepared?" And he goes, "Why? He doesn't have his own material prepared." And I thought, "Oh my God, get me out of here!" So I walked out, and of course, I see all of my colleagues that I have not seen,
Yeah.
here back, fresh back. But the thing is that um, there's a wonderful quote: "Always be prepared when the opportunity arises," and that's when you have to have all of your bag of tricks ready to go. And usually with roadblocks and stuff like that, it's that's when you go, okay, I'm going to turn off the TV, no
Mhm.
Netflix, no nothing that is distracting. I will do a meditation, and I will. It's all about focus and making it happen, because that's the only way it becomes real, is if you give it the full attention that it deserves.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Speaking of which, how do you think your acting differed between your film and your theater careers?
Well, it's a very different style
Mhm.
altogether. Um, I, talking to you, if this were television, they'd be like, tell him to put his hands under, tie him behind his back or something like
Yeah.
that, because it's about subtlety and things like that. You'd be surprised how, you're really intense,
Mhm.
and then you don't think like you're doing anything, but it's more than enough.
Right.
There was a TV show called The Imagination Movers
Mhm.
for Disney, and it was a preschool kid show. I mean, it's about somebody that comes to their warehouse looking for help
Mhm.
to solve a problem. And I played Gunther the Great, who
Mhm.
was the strong man in the circus, and he couldn't lift the weight over his head, and we couldn't figure out why. And through the course of the show, we find out it's because I was eating cotton candy
Yes.
from the circus, and that's what. So, but the thing was, is that at the audition, you read the material and you're going, "Oh, okay, this is for kids. This
Uh,
is okay." Well, I'm seeing all these guys coming out of the room with their shirts off, and I'm going, "What's going on?"
mhm.
I mean, they're all ripped and all that kind of. And I kind of walked in, and then I see the casting director. She's like this. I just want to remind you that this is for children. And I'm like, okay, and then so I just did it like a kind of a big dope kind of a guy.
Mhm.
You have to know your audience, for one thing. You
Right.
have to understand that the casting director wants you to book it,
Yeah.
so she's helping you.
Mhm.
He's helping you get the job. So I don't know. It's great to make a bold choice and have them pull you back.
Mhm.
It's when they have to say, "Give me more." That's usually when you don't get the job.
Mhm.
Hmm. So I don't know. It's a different technique altogether.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that is. You just have to play the intent. And usually for theater, you're allowed to be a little bit more broad, because you have to reach to the back of the audience, or back of
Mhm.
the theater, I should say. And subtleties, as and I'm 6'2" and 260 pounds. There's nothing subtle about me, but you have to make it happen somehow. And my film and TV career is not as extensive as my stage stuff,
Mhm.
but I kind of look at it, and I'm still learning the whole technique about TV and film.
Right. Speaking of which, what was it like performing on big shows such as Gotham? Like, do you feel like you really like learned something from those experiences?
Oh, sure. What's cool about, see, if I was a series regular on a TV show like that, then they pay a lot of attention to you. I was
Mhm.
there to get killed within the first 5 minutes of the episode. So, they kind of like, move you around and stuff like that. But you start to learn a little bit that they're very particular at Gotham. It's about the clothing, the colors of the clothing, the fabric, and that kind of thing. They're very particular, and it does explain who these people are. And without even having seen the show or anything at the time,
Mhm.
I got a sense of who my goon was,
Mhm.
and it it really is. They love it when you come prepared with, I don't know, just something unique. I have a lot of hair. They greased my hair back so that I
Uh-huh.
almost look bald, and it changes my look. So of course I'm looking at myself going, okay, yeah, I look more tough now.
Mhm.
Just things evolve as you're on the set. It's kind of cool.
Right. I thought it was so interesting seeing you play such a villainous role.
Mhm.
And when I sit here and talk to you, you're just like a complete opposite to that. And I thought it was so interesting. How do you prepare yourself for such a role like that?
Gosh, I it's funny because I guess playing a villain, I've always loved playing the villains like Captain Hook or
Right.
even Gaston. Those roles are so good because they don't think they're bad. They don't think they're the bad guy. They're completely justified in their behavior. But when I did Peter Pan with Kathy Rigby, it was a different kind of a bad guy. They wanted him to be like he murders children. I mean, that was like a they wanted Peter Pan to have more of a he was a hero,
Mhm.
kind of thing. That there was an animosity. It's not the big flamboyant, character that had been portrayed originally. So it just depends, I guess. I love. I know I'm pretending, so I
Mhm.
guess it's okay that I can be mean. I don't know if you've heard of Ed DeBevick's. Have you ever heard of Ed DeBevick's restaurant?
I don't think I have.
It's a chain. They're not that big anymore, I don't think, but they were so much fun. There was one in Beverly Hills, and it was a 50s style kind of a diner,
Mhm.
and we were taught to be mean to the customer. So if they said, "Can I have a straw, please?" You just take a whole bunch and throw them at them, and
Yeah,
they'd laugh, and then you go, "Okay." You'd go into work being really up, in a bad mood. I always left there in a great mood because
yeah,
I got to let it all out.
yeah. I do. I know what diner you're talking about now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. It's just so
yeah,
interesting to see you play, like I said, so just a wide array of characters, and then to
it's
talk to
fun.
you in person and be like, I don't know how that person is the same person I saw in that video. It's very impressive, honestly.
Oh, sweet.
Speaking of being Hook, what was it like being Kathy Rigby's Captain Hook in
Oh,
your band?
God. Well, first of all, I remember when I did the tour with her, I think 2 or 3 times.
Oh,
The second time, the first time, she was, I believe at the time, 45 years old. And I was like, honey, when is she going to put up her flying, gear?
yeah,
Well, then I was that age then when I did it the second time, and she's now 60 something.
yeah.
She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing.
Mhm.
She would stay and sign autographs no matter how late it was.
Mhm.
And kids, they're so honest. Kids are brutally honest, and they talk throughout the whole show. So
Yeah,
you get used to it after a while, and they're booing and hissing, and that kind of stuff. Um, but there's something magical about being able to work with somebody as gifted as Kathy is, because people know her from being an Olympic gymnast.
Mhm.
But she really is a dedicated actress, and she really works hard on her craft. And it was so wonderful to work with her. And I don't think I'm giving anything too much away, but I would be like on the plank ready to make my demise, and she'd be down there with the plastic poop on the crash pad, and I'd be like, not
yeah.
being able to let it know that I see it. But
Mhm.
I mean, but she was always joking and always just amazing to work with, and of course, it was a joy to play that role and having people boo at you, the whole time and stuff, and
Yeah.
beautiful costumes and being able to sword fight and that kind of thing. It was really, really a lot of fun.
That is so awesome,
Hmm.
especially being able to be in that role for such a long time and then be able to reprise it. As
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
what do you think was a defining moment in your career? Or at least to you, what do you feel like was your defining moment? Because I know it might feel like it's something different to yourself.
Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I mean, this was a defining moment only because it made it clear that this is what I was supposed to do.
Okay.
Um, I got hired to play Lieutenant Shattarg, the second lieutenant of the Klingon army in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Now, they were advertising or they put out a breakdown for a Shakespearean type actor, someone with a big, loud voice.
Mhm.
I mean, they just wanted the persona basically because the guy was a big blowhard and he needed to be, who he was. And I remember getting the part, and I had not done anything. I hadn't done any television. I hadn't done anything. So they had to Taft Hartley me, which is very rare. So I got to go into the union as a non-union person, becoming union,
Wow.
which is, like I said, rare.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would get there like at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
They would have to paint the whole thing on my face. It would be prosthetics and the whole thing. And I remember we would go all the way until 1 o'clock the next morning, having to come back at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'd have 3 hours off on a
Yeah.
24-hour day.
Uh-huh.
And I remember them giving me my sides for the day.
Uh-huh.
And it was all that Star Trek psychobabble of like the impulse injector, key 724. And I was like, oh, how am I going to remember this?
Yeah.
And I was exhausted, absolutely exhausted. So of course I get on the set, we start doing it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember anything. I can't remember anything. Michael Dorn, who played Worf,
Uh-huh.
he hadn't been there all week. It's his first day on the set. He's been well rested. He's like, "What do we have to? Can't we just have the camera on me and he can just read the line or whatever?" And I'm like, I said, "Hey, I've been here, since
Yeah.
yesterday, 4 o'clock. Okay, everybody take five." And I was like, "Oh my God, I just lost my job." So I went and sat in a director's chair and I had my head down and I looked up and then all these Klingons are coming at me. There were all this like the extras and stuff.
Yeah.
And they came up and they said, "Thank you for saying something. He's always, making this kind of
Yeah.
a fuss or whatever." I was I felt so much better. And then Michael comes up and says, "Do you want to run lines?" I can't do his voice because it's like deep, deep, deep. I said, "Sure, that'd be fine." We did the lines. I had a whole mess hall fight that I had to do,
Mhm.
and I'm left-handed, but the guy who they hired was right-handed,
Yeah.
and I feel weird
Yeah.
doing it with Brian. So I said I can do my own stunts. They said, "Are you sure?" I did, and the director, gave me the knife that the double
Yeah.
blade shoots out on the side. I have that in my storage unit.
Cool.
So I mean, it was a turning point because it was unexpected
Uh-huh.
and I had to do whatever I could. And on top of that, they kept my character alive. I was supposed to die in that episode,
Oh,
but they
really?
kept me alive, saving Worf's son, and they wanted to keep our animosity
Hmm.
characters together. It was the sixth season. The show got canceled, but I got a recurring role my first
Yeah.
time out as a Klingon. I'm people
Yeah.
at Star Trek conventions. I've had people come to the stage door with my own signature that they bought for $5 at a Star Trek convention, and I'm like,
Wow.
I'll give it to you for nothing.
Yeah.
you know,
That's so cool.
yeah. But
Oh
it
man.
made me think this is
Mhm.
what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
I mean, I was very lucky, and I didn't want to take it for granted. And I say my teeth live at Paramount Studios in Hollywood because they had to make fake teeth. And they said, "Do you need anything for the sound bites?" And I said, "Well, I need my teeth because it does change your voice.
Yeah.
When you've got those things." And it said, "Yeah, we need Sam Zeller's teeth from the." So they brought the teeth, and they live. It lives somewhere in Paramount Studios.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
Oh man, that is so cool. Um, how do you I was very interested to hear that you actually performed in quite a few different countries, like besides just the US. How
Mhm.
do you feel it differed performing in other countries versus here?
Well, what's the same is that the art gets done.
Right.
We do it. Now I got to do Peter Pan in Macau, China, We headlined the International Music Festival,
Okay.
and it was amazing. Uh, Again, when you're dealing with different countries, Kinky Boots was in Tokyo.
Hmm.
I've been to Canada. Where else have I performed? Oh
Hmm.
my gosh. The Netherlands. Um, Everybody, people who go to the theater love the theater. They appreciate it, and they express their gratitude with the applause.
Hmm.
For some reason, the Americans like to whistle and hoot and holler.
Yeah.
Everybody else is a lot more um, poised. Let's put it that way. I mean,
Interesting.
you could sing your heart out in Japan, and they're and you're like,
Just so very
but they
poised.
love it. They love it. But that's how they respond.
Hmm.
Um, it's audiences are pretty much the same everywhere in terms of appreciation because they do when they're going to the theater they want their socks knocked off, and that's what we do, you know.
Hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I also wondered, especially since you got to work with so many different stars throughout your career, did you ever find yourself starstruck any moment, either in film or on stage?
Well, sure. I mean, I did I did South Pacific
Hmm.
with Reba McEntire and Brian Stokes Mitchell,
Uh-huh.
and uh, I'm I have my bag and I'm trying to get everything ready, and everyone's already out the door for lunch, and I'm going, how does everybody get out of here so quickly?
Hmm.
Reba, she'd be like, "What are y'all doing for lunch?" And I go, "I'd probably just go getting some." She said, "Well, have lunch with me." So I'd have lunch with her, and we'd talk about her family, and we would talk about other things besides theater or whatever. And she's so wonderful. And I remember she gave everybody a headshot at the end of the thing, and she gave me mine, and she said, "Now look on the back." And I was like, "Okay." And I looked on the back, and she gave me her number, and she said, "Please keep in touch." And I thought, wow, why would you do that? Um, I was always starstruck by her because she's so nice.
Hmm.
Now there is a story that is so I out of the blue, I contacted her
Uh-huh.
texting, and her response was kind of busy, turn on CBS.
Uh-huh.
Okay. She was hosting live the American Country Music Awards.
Wow.
And I was like, why are you contacting me?
And she texted you back.
Yeah. And she said, why? It takes absolutely no time to do something nice for somebody you care about. And I thought, oh my God, I
Yeah.
was blown away by that. And I thought that's why she's a star. That's why she is where she is, because she was so cool about stuff
Yeah.
like that. And yeah, anybody that you work with, Neil Patrick Harris, goofball, but
Mhm.
so dedicated to the work. And you learn from them. Like I said, everybody that you stand in front of is a teacher. And they really, it's quite remarkable how well you see a lot of movie stars going to Broadway and they end up getting their Tony Award, and they all get up there and they said, I don't know how y'all do it, but it's so difficult. And we do. It's 24 hours a day practically, and
Mhm.
it's everything that you do goes towards that performance. You know?
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I feel like everyone that you come in contact with, you touch them in such a like a personal way. And I
Hmm.
was wondering if you feel that having that strong support system behind you has really had a large impact in your success.
Wow. That's a beautiful question. I'll be honest. Because of the coronavirus and the way things have been,
Hmm.
I've been feeling very, very lonely. And a lot of people are not available, and a lot of people don't want to engage. And that's been very difficult for me because I am about engaging. I
Hmm.
love being able to connect with people, and I've done my share. I've had to wait for a while because we didn't know what was going on, and we didn't know about the contagiousness and that kind of thing. And um, but it's hard. It's really, really hard. And I I remember having this mother send me a Facebook thing regarding her son who watches the Imagination Movers on Disney,
Mhm.
but he always wanted to watch my episode, and he kept saying Gunther, 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 and the mother said he's developmentally disabled, but he has some difficulty engaging, but
Mhm.
he sees you and he lights up. And I'm going, you got, I mean, you have no idea the impact that you have on other people. You really
Right.
don't. During Les Mis, a woman came up to me and said that she's going through a terrible divorce. Her husband left her,
Mhm.
and she said that I made her feel better. We're still friends today. I mean, she's a sweet, sweet lady, and
Mhm.
she has persimmon trees, and she sends me persimmons from all over the country, and just really sweet. But that's how I think the work translates.
Mhm.
If we can make somebody happy, if we can
Mhm.
change their lives in some way. There was fires in California in Santa Barbara, and I was being interviewed like this, and I said, "Can I talk about something?" And they said, "Sure. What do you want to talk about?" Well, everyone had to be evacuated. They couldn't take their pets with them. They had to drop them off at another location, and then
Mhm.
they'd go on to another place. I said, "Well, these animals, they're scared. They don't know what's going on. We need
Mhm.
food. We need litter. We need blankets. We need crates. These facilities need help." They were bombarded with donations and people, truckloads of dog food, and I thought, now that's what it is. That's why, if anybody talks about celebrity or being famous or whatever, that's where you want it to be. Make it happen.
Right.
Is that you can make a difference? And yeah, I can't even imagine. I hope that that's the inspiration that goes through anytime I'm on stage, whether it be about acting, whether it be about, uh, saving an animal or saving, senior citizens or
Mhm.
Black Lives Matter. Everything matters as far as I'm concerned. And that's why we have to pursue all of this. We
Mhm.
learn when we do this. And, we have a different world now,
Mhm.
and we have to learn how to live in it. It's not going to be easy, but um, that's what we're that's what hopefully art is going to do. And we got to get Broadway back, because it's really hard walking by at night and seeing the lights on and there's nobody there.
Right.
It's a musical theater was created in the United States. It's our art form.
Mhm.
We should be able to do it, and they just have to figure out how to do it without, you know
Right.
a lot of people have died, and doing virtual funerals and things like that, it's not fun.
Mhm.
And but we're resilient, and we're gonna,
Mhm.
people are trying different things. People are doing one-man shows and streaming them, and
Right.
everyone's trying to come up with an idea or a way to still keep theater alive so that we can inspire people.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of which, besides during this exact time, what's it like for you living so close to Broadway and being like so close to all the action happening?
Well,
I know it's kind of tough right now, but
yeah, but I live in a building called Manhattan Plaza.
uh-huh.
I was on their waiting list for 27 years.
Right.
And I wanted to be there, here,
Hmm.
because I wanted to be close to work.
Hmm.
I mean, there's nothing like the idea of being a kid from California and
Right.
wanting to live right, you know, next door.
Hmm.
My first apartment here was right next door to the Gershwin Theater, so
Hmm.
where Wicked is playing. So I literally could walk out of my front door and then just turn around and walk right into the theater, if that's
Awesome.
where, I loved that idea. There's something magical about um, being here. And I'm
Mhm.
just far away enough that I'm not bombarded by tourists and things like that, which is okay. Tourists are
Mhm.
fun. You gotta love them, because they're all, they're doing
Oh
this the
yeah.
whole time. And I did that for the first couple of years that I lived here. And I thought, okay,
Yeah.
because I'm still
I mean,
getting used
that's
to
what
it,
all business, right?
of course. And I
Yeah.
still and I still say sometimes, oh, I live in New York City.
Yeah.
I sometimes I forget. But yeah, I mean, I spent 7 weeks in this apartment by
Hmm.
myself, because, and there were days that I did not even hear my own voice because there was nobody to talk to. So
Right.
you work out. I created a website. I did my blog, and I mean there are things that you have to do. And I became very into doing my yoga and meditation and taking creative writing courses. And I mean you have two choices. You can
Mhm.
either wallow in the pain or in the nothingness of it, or you can be proactive and do something that will help you be happy and hopefully it becomes that becomes the disease is the happiness. That's what I would rather spread. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the kind of thing that we have to find. And I know a lot of people have been defeated by this. A lot of people have left the city.
Right.
I really hope that that's only temporary.
Mhm.
But at the same time, um, I thought we would all be there for each other.
Mhm.
It's not always the case. I think people who are like-minded tended to get closer together, and there were some people who just didn't believe that it existed, and they have their own group of people that they deal with.
Mhm.
It's hard, and you lose a lot of friends in that respect because
Mhm.
everyone is trying to figure out where it is that they fit in, and you're living in probably one of the most expensive cities in the world, and
Right.
then you don't have a job and you're struggling. How do you make it happen?
Mhm.
It's really hard. And that's why when my parents raised me, they said, give a homeless person a sandwich or something to drink. Don't give them money. Give them what they need, not what they want.
Mhm.
They have to have food.
Mhm.
It's just things like that. And I don't know. I can't save the whole world, but I would really like to try at least one day at a time and see what could happen. I
Right.
think
And I think the fact that you're trying is what differs you from so many other people.
everyone keeps saying, please do not turn into one of these jaded people who live in New York. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I hope I don't. I don't think I will. But I tell you, the minute I get to Los Angeles, I have road rage and I feel it, because of the freeway driving and all that. And I have to remind myself here, I get a little bit of sidewalk rage, because it's tourists and people going like this, but it's
Mhm.
okay. You have to learn to adapt. And, everybody's got something going on. So you never know what that person is going through. So it's always best to just take a breath and
Mhm.
just, don't let it affect you because really stress more than anything will give
Mhm.
you the heart attack more than anything else. So
Right.
might as well just chill out, relax, and really enjoy it. And because we only do have this one life that we know of. And why not make it fun?
Right.
You know? Hmm.
Speaking of which, what inspired you to start doing workshops for performers? Because I think that was really cool that you started doing that.
I I took a class, and that's what did it for me. I had auditioned for a show here in New York, and the guy said, "You have no training on your resume." And I said, "Well, I've never trained."
Mhm.
"You've never trained?"
Mhm.
I had never trained for singing. I had listened to albums growing up. My parents listened to Pavarotti and Al Martino and Jerry Vale. I listened and I mimicked their voices. So I
Mhm.
had this voice apparently. So I went and sang. They sent me to the Manhattan School of Music.
Mhm.
Maitland Peters was his name, gentleman who I don't know if he's still there. He might be the chair of the voice department, and I sang for him.
Mhm.
And he said, "I'm willing to offer you a scholarship as a Helden tenor." Helden
Uh-huh.
tenors are very, I don't know, they're kind of rare, but at the same time, they have the high voice, which is
Mhm.
the tenor, but they have a nice, rich baritone, but they also are physically a big man, like a Viking. So in all the ring cycle, and you got the Vikings. Those are the men that I guess Wagner sang to death. Basically, was these Helden tenors,
Mhm.
and I thought, okay. So I went and studied opera for a
Mhm.
while, and I loved it, but I missed theater because there was no. They didn't train their opera singers to be actors. So
Mhm.
there was this class, and it was a performance workshop, and I loved it because it made everybody work together as a team.
Mhm.
Everybody was the star. There was nobody that was more important than the other. We all had to do this work together, and it was improv,
Mhm.
and everybody got to sing an aria. And I thought, okay, this works for musical theater too. So
Yeah.
that's sort of where it's at. And it gives people the opportunity to not only if a girl sings, I'm just a girl who can't say no, we all know in the context from Oklahoma what it's about. But if we put it in, you know, um, I don't know, the uh, like the bad part of town or whatever, and then it's she's a hooker of some kind, and she sings that. We got a whole different intent. We got a whole different meaning to the song. It gives the actor an opportunity to be creative, and that's really why I think it's so important. Because as actors, we never stop learning. So I think it's important to maintain and keep it going. And I
Mhm.
like the idea that everybody gets to be a star, because I think I'm one of the only people in my school that is still acting, but I got lucky. I got all the parts. And that's how
Right.
they kind of set it up. But I want everybody to have the part,
Yeah.
and find out for themselves, do you really want to do this?
Hmm.
So, and it does, it builds not only personal characteristics, but it gives you the tools to be a better actor, a better singer.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think it's vitally important. It's unique. It's not like I'm going to go to class now and read the book and then answer the questions at the end of the chapter.
Hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up here, I always like to ask, what advice can you give to any upcoming artists, either in theater or film?
Uh, Listen to yourself. Listen to your gut. Do it because you love it,
Okay.
and don't let anybody tell you that you're wrong. Because in anything that we do as actors, we might have a choice that might not be the best thing,
Mm-hmm.
but there's only one you, and the uniqueness that you bring to anything is it's priceless.
Hmm.
So embrace that. Embrace what's different about you, and just go for it. There's no other way, I think, than to study and go for it. It's really it will open up your eyes if that's what you want to do.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And
Thank you
thank you
so
for answering
much.
the questions. I've loved talking with you today. And thank you so much for joining us today
My
on
pleasure.
the interview. I hope everyone learned something. I know I, for one, did.
I
But,
did too.
oh, awesome. We will see you all in the next live. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.